Hey guys, Dante here, and welcome back to my channel, The Burger Sort, and welcome back to another episode of the Toy Chest, where I show you custom toys I made in the past and presently. So today I'm going to do things a little differently. First things first, as usual, if you wish to skip the how I made it portion of this video, jump to around, I don't know, this time slot right here. With that being said, rather than do narration as I go, which is normally what I have done in the past, I'm going to try and fast forward this and just straight up work on the pieces and in turn narrate it after the fact. So let's start that off right now.
Okay, everyone, so as you can see on the table in front of me, I have what is essentially a small scale knockoff of Optimus Primal's monkey chest from Beast Wars, as well as some miscellaneous knockoff robot legs from some cheap Chinese robot toy. That's the orange, sorry, that's the red and gray piece on the right side of the screen. Right here, I am desperately trying to unscrew this Megatron figurine in order to remove its arms. Now, the Megatron and the Optimus Prime are official Transformer toys. I have no idea the scaling name for them, but as you can see by my hands, they're not that big. Optimus is about 7 inches tall, which I guess makes him a Voyager, or whatever the current name for it is. So what I'm trying to do is open up this Megatron chest so I can then plop in a pair of ball joints, which you see in the upper center right there. It's bionicle ball joints with, of course, the attachments. My idea is to essentially turn these knockoff robot legs into a new pair of robot arms. So right here, I'm just, you know, clearing the table for what I can do. So there I am, removing the ball joints and slapping them right inside of Megatron's body, as well as testing out the actual attachments to the ball joints inside the hollow part of these robot legs, and just cutting up pieces here and there to have them all fit nice and tight. Essentially, what I'm doing is trying to use Megatron's entire body, head to crotch, as the partial torso of a Voyager class. So Megatron is basically going to be rolled up into a little ball and combined with Optimus Prime to make a Voyager class robot. I am also right now dremeling, cutting back pieces of the Optimus Prime to attach to the back of Megatron. So you're probably wondering what the heck it is I'm making right here. And what I'm making is a flying monkey. That's right, I am making a flying monkey. So essentially, I'm trying to make a humanoid-esque form turn into a monkey form with wings. And to do that, I'm essentially taking Megatron and using Megatron's proportions for the monkey form and using Optimus Prime's proportions combined with Megatron to make the robot form. Now, before that being said, I know it doesn't make sense right now, but it'll make sense as I go along. But before that being said, you can see right here I have a nice big old bag of knockoff non-Lego brand Legos. It's actually really good plastic. These are pretty much Lego in terms of the quality of the plastic, and I'm using them as connecting points. So at the base of the screen, you can probably see I am just making holes in Megatron, which I'm going to then insert the Legos directly into, which will allow everything to kind of clip together. Essentially, Megatron's legs are going to wrap onto his back, covering the ape chest, which will be on his back. And you can see a little Megatron box I just made right there. So with Megatron gluing together, I'm just right now, once again, fiddling around with Optimus Prime, removing the pieces I do not need. So essentially what I do not need are his wheels, obviously, because he's not going to be a truck. His legs, though, will become the wings of our flying monkey, so that'll come later on. And once I desperately pry these wheels off, 'cause I'm trying to take the wheels off without breaking them, but once I desperately pry them off, I am also going to essentially cut him in half, and I'll be coming up in the next few seconds or so. Okay, so let us slow down the video right now. Right here, I finally pulled off all of the wheels. You have our robot legs with the ball joints inside of them. You have Megatron with the balls in him and a little Lego piece in between his kneecaps holding him together. So he's a little square box right now. And essentially, as I mentioned earlier, I want to have wings that kind of flank as close as possible to the side of Optimus Prime's legs, which would then fold outward. I'll probably use maybe some plastic. Later on in the video, I'll go through several materials till I find what I want. The entire upper half will be cut right at the waist, and then I'll have to find a way to attach Megatron's body onto Optimus, the gorilla onto Megatron, and the legs onto Megatron. And as for the wheels, they're gonna go off to the side right now for later use. So here is Megatron all put together, and the reason I added these robot legs for his arms was because I wanted arms that would match the proportions of the combined Megatron and Optimus, but be extra long on Megatron. Because on the back, as you can see, is the little monkey body, so I wanted his arms to be longer in monkey mode. Speaking of Optimus Prime, look at him dance. So there's Optimus Prime with his legs, and now the big issue is find a way to combine these two with a particular joint. Now I tried to create a joint with Lego and Revoltech, and that was absolute garbage. Essentially, it needs to be like an accordion joint that can fold the chest and the legs into each other. So I decided to use pre-made ball joints. I tried to avoid using these because they had a tendency of breaking a lot on me, but these larger ones, the ones that are larger, well, they have more girth, and the breaking happens very, very little. But it's still something that bothers me. So I need to essentially put Megatron's folded back hips directly on Optimus Prime's waist and attach the ball joint in such a way that it can accordion together, moving Optimus's legs onto Megatron's chest, which will then in turn be the monkey's back. Once again, this will all make sense in the final product. So yeah, I just went ahead and started dremeling rounded off edges on Optimus to fit the ball joint directly in there. And then of course I will also drill a hole because these ball joints, as you can see, have a little peg. So they actually work very well on a larger scale, as I said. But the smaller ones from this particular company just always tend to break on me. So I'm very leery about it. But let's see how this goes. In fact, I already know, but I'll show you how this goes. So here's Megatron and here's Optimus. Optimus has his peg in his waistline, and as you see, Megatron has several little Lego ports. The ones on his hips will connect with the ones I'm going to place on Optimus Prime's waistline. And as before noted, you can see the ones between his knees which held him all together. And bam, this is what we end up with. So on the back, you can see Megatron's hips attached to Optimus Prime's waistline. And the new arms actually swing in both directions for both forms. Now at this point I was trying to figure out if there was a good way to fasten onto Megatron's chest. I was thinking of adding these extra Lego pieces onto his chest and see if they can interlock with the Optimus Prime's legs, but we'll figure that part out as we go along. Of course, Megatron's going to need an entire remake for his chest. Not even his chest, his entire body now is going to become a chest. So I'm going to start building that up to essentially hide the fact that he was a smaller robot, basically walking on a larger robot like stilts. And as you'll notice right now, once I add the new head to him, he'll be just about 7 inches tall, if not a little taller. So he is a good Voyager class figurine, which is perfect. And incidentally, it is among the largest I've ever made. So here we go, guys. This is the monkey form. Optimus Prime's legs actually fold very nicely, not as flush as I would like them against Megatron's back. I ended up not using extra Lego pieces because the ball joints hold it so tight against the back. And right now, I'm just wondering what to do to fill up these gaps. I was thinking maybe using this at one point as a rocket pack that would then detach and become a gun. This idea I will drop later on, and you'll see later on in the video the idea I do come up with. So here we have the newly designed chest plate using everything from Gundam wing hip flaps to miscellaneous pieces of plastic. And yes, that is a small piece of popsicle right behind the chest. Now, actually behind the ball joint beneath the chest. And just so you can know, all of this is all trial and error. All that red plastic pieces you see in the background, those are all pieces I was trying to find that would look best fitted together. And essentially, I just kept, putting weird things together until I finally have what you see here before you, which I am actually very happy with. And speaking of just putting weird things together, now I have to think of the head or heads of this character. So I was thinking of a double-sided head, robot in the front, monkey in the back, and I found a knockoff Devastator head, which was great for the robot mode, and that's that you see right there, a little out of focus, but he's there. And I also sanded down some pieces of him to give it a rounded top because they're gonna have a kind of hood that flaps from one side of the head to the other. And the other side is this interesting Japanese, I forget if it's Beetleborgs, I forget what the American version of it was, but I like the visor so much. It kind of reminded me of Ape Face. Once again, sorry it's out of focus. But essentially, I want to keep the visor, and then I will go ahead and start sculpting the monkey teeth all on the front of that, which is what's happening right here. And I am once again going with my always go-to water-based epoxy clay by Smooth On. I might as well be being paid for how much I say that name in my videos. But yeah, I decided rather than rely on pre-existing pieces, I would just go ahead and make the monkey face. It's very simple, sharp little teeth, big fat nose, keeping the visor intact. And when it's all done, I'll have a double-headed monstrosity, much like Gemini from Thunder the Barbarian. And yes, if you get that reference, you are both a geek and an awesome individual. So here was a tricky part. I had to make hands that would work both front-wise for robot mode and then backwards for the ape mode. So I decided to kind of go the more fantasy route. So instead of giving him like regular 5 fingers like any ape or robot, I decided to use these little bug robotic limbs, cut off the tips of them, and give him what is essentially kind of the long nailed hands you would see like on a sloth. And I went ahead and I glued those, 3 on each one. So you have 2 big monkey fingers like that, so 3 on each one, onto a Lego piece. And if you're wondering why I did that, here's a little fun note. Legos, they use 5mm ports. So the whole of a Lego piece will actually work as the center fist for any customized transformer you're working on, because it will hold the gun right in it. And that's that. He has like a 3-fingered claw going on. So he'll be able to hold a gun in one mode, and with some trickery, he'll hold other type of weapons in the other. Speaking of which, here is the weapon I made for him. Remember I mentioned earlier I was going to give him a jetpack. Or instead, I decided to give him this kind of cool rocket-esque Gatling gun. There was some issues that came into play. As you notice, the handle was too close to the Gatling gun belt, and I couldn't get the monkey paw to grab it. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add an extra attachment. He's going to have 2 weapons. Uh, and when combined, it will allow him in robot mode to hold the gun, and in monkey mode, it will give him 2 different weapons. So yeah, I'm going to keep going, and I'll show you how that looks in the end. Okay, everyone. So last but not least for the construction, are all the fine details. So I decided on one side of his robot arms, the ones that will eventually be facing forward in monkey mode, I want to do some cool little hair detail. Uh, I guess you could say cyber hair, similar to like the Beast Wars stuff, where it's not real hair, it's robotic hair, but semantics. I wanted to make it look like this hair was kind of sticking out from inside the grooves and pipework of the mechanical arms, rather than just growing out of him. And it did add a bit weight to the arms, but the end product is something I was really happy with. I feel I've gotten better with sculpting hair ever since my last project I did entitled Good Boy, which I'll put a link in the end of this video for. Definitely check it out if you want to see some non-robotic transforming toys, or more gruesome organic transforming, if that makes sense. But yeah, everything bends just fine, and the next step will be us jumping into the final product once it is all painted. So let's do that right now.
And so, through the magic of editing, we now have our painted Transformer. And no, I don't have a name for him yet. I am thinking of many names for this character, more of which will become more obvious as we finally transform him. But first things first, let's take a look at this haphazard paint job I've done. So, ideally, as any painter will tell you, you want to prime your figurine first before you go in there with any paint. However, due to current circumstances and the fact that I do not have access to a proper ventilated area, I just brute forced it and just did layers upon layers upon layers of paint on top of this guy, which it should be a no-no to anyone, because several different types of plastic each took the paint differently. But I try to keep it more or less in the tones of what the body already had. So I went for a kind of muted blue, a deep blue, some reds, and some basic grays to kind of just make it easier for everything to work together, as opposed to seeing the colors bleed through. But yes, now he's all painted together, and you can really see how mix matching numerous pieces of miscellaneous plastic actually now come together very well to make up the new chest plate. I kept his hands a nice silver color to match the already silver face. He has let me bend his waist a little bit so you can bring him into camera view. Boop. He has a very nice weird like dome helmet that protrudes off of his back for good reasons. You could kind of make out the fact that it is Optimus Prime legs from at least one Optimus Prime, but nothing too obvious. He of course has all of his original articulations, so he has the ball jointed arms, he has the rather ball jointed shoulder, the elbow which swings back and forth in both ways, no articulation in the hand, no articulation in the waist. He does have, of course, ball jointed hips, knees that bend pretty far back, and these wings I've added on to the side of his legs work very well. In that they don't get in the way, they actually bend just right. I would have hoped to have the wings on his feet flush with the rest of the body, but they do stick out a bit. But it's not a deal breaker. I'm still happy with it. A few fun details. As I might have mentioned earlier, Legos, 5mm ports. So the Legos are great for the inner grip of an arm. In my case, I went for big, three-fingered, chunky kind of hands. But you could probably sculpt a fist around a small Lego block and still get that 5mm port you want. Millimeter ports are now going to be abundant on these connecting pieces from the wings to the leg, which I'll show you in a moment as well. But before we do that, let's take a look. Stand up. He stands fine. The table's funny. Let's take a look at his gun he has. Okay, so he has this kind of airplane engine looking gun with these two pincers on the bottom. And he has this big old chain belt that just runs off the end of it. I like the chain belt. I don't know, I envision him with a chain belt that kind of like, it feeds in, reaches the end, and then when he reloads it, it just kind of like peels back out with a whole new belt. It makes no sense, but it just kind of feeds in and then restocks and whoop, flies back out. I used this is actually a Lego, if you can't tell, a Lego block. And I'm using this singular little 5mm port that way. He could wield his gun. This table's crooked. There we go. And that's our guy right there. Very happy with the way he looks. I wish the paint job was better. I might need to give him a full spray down because even with all the paint, it's still kind of tacky for some reason. Could be the humidity. Let's take a look at his back. So in his back, you can see the Megatron legs make a nice, pretty flush backpack. I'm actually very happy with that backpack. It leans up very nice. The Megatron feet are at an angle, so they come off like shoulder pads in a weird way. And the ball joint hides in there pretty well. It is a different plastic grade compared to everything else. Simply because, you know, I don't want to paint over the ball joint and screw it up. But I painted the stem in the center black, which helps it disappear into the cavity of the body. But that's enough of how he looks like this. Let's go ahead and transform him. Let's see what this guy does. So I'm going to put the gun, this weird, like, single-barreled spotlight freaking needle laser gun off to the side, and you're gonna see why this looks so weird and complicated in just a moment. So let's put him to the side for now and let's transform him. Okay, first things first, we are gonna go ahead, turn him around, and on the waist, so the hips of Megatron, which have little Lego blocks attached to the waistline of the Optimus Prime figurine, and we're gonna just there we go. Split that apart. There are the ports. There are the little nubs that go into it. We're going to go ahead and on this ball joint, kind of accordion it up, and it sits in the cavity right on top of his Decepticon logo right there. So it's going to fit right in there. Perfect. Next, we're going to take, let's take these wing bits, and we're going to detach them. So right there is a Lego, right there is the connecting point, and these right here are really soft ratchet joints that just make it bloop, pop right into place. These wings are actually from an old model kit, so it's like actual airplane wings, which is pretty nice. Let's do that for both sides. Detach, and there you go. We're going to bring the hips all the way up. Going to rotate it out and just sit them like that. Same thing on this side. Hip up, rotate at the knee, and bring it out. So now we're looking at his back, which is now becoming the front of the alt mode. The arms, like I said, they swing both ways, so you're going to swing them forward, swing them forward. We're going to take the backpack, peel it back, split it right there, bring it down, rotate at the knee, bring it down, rotate at the knee to reveal a big silvery monkey chest. And then finally, we're going to tilt this frame back to reveal the head. And there is our sculpted gorilla face. Might be a bit washed out. Let me see if I can adjust the lighting. There we go. He has big old funny front teeth, top teeth. Has a big old overbite. So, put him down for a minute and let's return to the weapon. So, this entire pincer section was added once I realized I had goofed, and I'll show you how I goofed. First, you're going to split it in half. Here is our kind of like a cattle prod, if you would, like a spear, put it to the side. Here's the top half of our gun. Now, as it stands by itself, it is a gun. And that's a 5mm port right there. In fact, give me one moment and I'll show you how versatile this is. From one monkey to another, here is Ape Face, an official Transformer figurine. He is a Legends class. So, we're going to take my character's weapon. Oh, come on, Apey, work for me. And yeah, he could hold it as well. So I originally made that little handle and stuck it inside that jet handle, only to realize that my character, because of his big old monkey hands, couldn't hold it. Whoopsie. So I decided to add this piece. So he can hold it because of this 5mm port, and then they connect. And then once again, 5mm port, let's pick one. Let's, here we go. Let's put it right here in his elbow. But there you go, 5mm port. Nice. So anyway, we've separated these two, right? Take the gun, or rather the top half, and we're gonna take the chain belt and rotate it all the way back. We're gonna pick up our flying monkey. And right here, there is a Lego piece and the the barrel of the gun. You can tell I don't shoot stuff. Goes right there. Giving him a tail fin and a monkey tail. So now he has, oh, gotta twist the body a little bit. There we go. Has a little waggly monkey tail. And bring out a little base from the sit-on. Bring up those wings, get them in a nice shot. Let's bring this back a pinch. Reveal the edging of my work table. And there we go. We now have our flying monkey, baby. I decided to keep the prime chest silver to match the silver on the face, to match the silver of the hands. So all like the organic-y looking parts, or parts that should be like hands, face, and chest, are silver. This little prong piece, I went ahead and used the opposite. Rather than a 5mm port, I used the 5mm socket, since we're working with the back end of the Legos from his fist. Put into his hand. And, oh, put you back in there. And there he is. He now has an actual, like, freaking little weapon, like a harpoon of some type, a little cattle prod he uses to poke people with. And this is my flying monkey, everyone. I am quite happy with this. Once again, the paint job could have been a lot better. That was my fault. I rushed the project. The whole thing does need a nice matte spray paint to really hold it on. But he works very well. He's a bit back heavy, as noted by the fact that I stuck a little box for him to stand on. If you look at the finer details, which we'll zoom in on right now, to match his little monkey hairs he has on the side, he has these little pockets of monkey hair on his forearm, on his bicep, artificial Cybertron monkey hair. His back is once again a bit extended outward on the wings. The wings aren't as flush as I like them to be, but it still looks nice. He still has all the articulation in the arms from before. He has leg articulation. He has the little swivel at the ankles. No head articulation. Just that glorious mug looking at you. As I was coloring it, I was asking myself, man, what color should I make him? Should I try and stick with the color tones already with the robot? And then I remembered vaguely from my childhood thoughts, wait a minute, didn't the Wizard of Oz characters, the monkeys, have like shades of purple and blue and red, if I can remember correctly? And then I figured it worked kind of well. It's not too patriotic, hopefully, but something I'm happy with. And now, I mentioned before, during the transformation, how the wings have Lego pieces on here and here. Now this is the actual 5mm stub, but this is the 5mm. I'm saying this like 100 times by now, but that is the socket, which means I could take, let's say, Ape Face's gun and stick it right there, and you could mount various guns onto him. It's a bit shallow in terms of how deep the handle could go, but it still works. So you could put tons of guns in there. You can also, on the opposite side of the fist, give him this cool like bottom one, which actually gives me an idea. Give me one moment. Yeah, baby, look at that. You could put your Siege Brunt, his legs, I think. Yeah, you could take Siege Brunt's legs and give him like a nice minigun, the kind of guns you actually hold the handle on top. So yeah, it works. It works in numerous ways. It works so well in the way I was hoping for. Let's see if we can attach this on there too. Might be too much. There we go. So he has all his accoutrements attached. Very nice. Come on, focus for me, people. Focus. And so there we are. Here is my flying monkey transformer made from scratch. Just based on a simple idea of, I wonder if this is possible. And as noted here, I have the wings at a nice little semi-bend because of the ratchet joints that are on his wings. You can set them at different points, even bring them like straight forward if you wanted to. I like this kind of like almost flapping view he has, kind of flapping posture he has. And this is actually part of an idea I had in which I was hoping to make a series of Transformers all based off of fictional monsters or creatures. So we have the flying monkeys. I was hoping to maybe even do like a Medusa, which I'm trying to still finalize in like her design since she's been depicted so many different ways in the past. But yes, that is my flying monkey. And if you have an idea for a name for him, be sure to put it in the commentary down below on the YouTube channel. I will also be uploading still images of this big guy over on Transformer World 2005. That's TFW2005.com. I'll make a form just for it. Just look for the name Spinner, and you'll see my form underneath Spinner, and you'll see my logo of the Burgos art right next to it, of course. And that's that for today. One last thing, here's a little side comparison. When in robot mode, he stands literally as tall as Ape Face's little freaking airplane nose cone right there. So he does stand, quote unquote, at the size of a Voyager, but actually a head bigger than what you usually see and expect. Thank you for tuning in, everyone. Once again, I am Dante. Like, favorite, share, subscribe, and all that good stuff. And I'll see you in the future. Later.